Hi, I'm Dr. Tom Lewis, founder of RealHealth Innovations. RealHealth Innovations is a health creation company. I'm a PhD medical scientist with degrees from MIT and the Harvard School of Public Health. Today I want to speak to you about the RealHealth Wellness Program, the Wellness Initiative. And wellness at RealHealth is all about root cause. Cost reduction through root cause wellness. We do population risk, which is a common term, but we also do health stratification. I'll speak to that in a bit. Root cause wellness, we provide actions tied to risks, and these are what create the outcomes. When you identify risks and correct those, that's a health creation process at the root cause. What do you get? Healthcare cost reductions. We're not just containing costs, we're creating health. We're creating healthier people that are less consuming of the healthcare system. And then healthy people work better, functional improvement, and our target is chronic diseases, which is 75% of healthcare costs. What's the need for RealHealth Innovations and our wellness program? Well, this curve simply shows you the inflation in healthcare costs compared to overall inflation. There's a huge problem in costs, and the only real solution is to create health. There's a presumption that America has the best healthcare system in the world. Well, that may not be the case anymore, because if we look at healthcare spending, America leads the world in spending. We have the most per capita spending of any nation in the world. These are the 36 most developed nations. You can see we're almost 3 times more expensive than the average developed nation outside of America. So what are we getting for those dollars? Here's where we stand. And as we go to the right, it's increasing dollars per individual. And as we come down, it's lower longevity, less longevity. So we can see the vast majority of countries in the world, their populations live longer than us, and that also means they have less chronic disease, and they spend way less than us. So America has a bit of a problem when it comes to implementing wellness programs. So when you look at the entire pie of healthcare spending, so much is spent on administration, cost containment, and measures like that, but not enough is spent on truly managing or actually mitigating the costs associated with poor health. So there's been a debate about wellness programs because we have this high cost in America, and there's a lot of wellness programs. So let's look at the debate on this, and the first place to look is an article in the New York Times. Do workplace wellness programs work? Usually not. And I think a lot of people out there, a lot of businesses realize that their wellness programs are making the well more well, and the sick are continuing to get sicker. So we need to address that. So, we use the hammer and the carrot and the stick approach, and we're focusing on smoking and sedentary lifestyles, but we're not getting to fundamental risks, and that's where Real Health goes. So let's look at, Johns Hopkins took exception to the New York Times article, and what they said is, hey, wellness does work if you use evidence-based practices and credible measurements of evaluation and change theory. You've got to get people to change, otherwise you're going to have the same old result you're getting today. So let's look at another major wellness initiative, and that would be the basic health physical. So Canada is actually dispensing with the health physical because they say it's not working. But is this throwing the baby out with the bathwater? Is the annual physical a valid thing? I truly think it is, but I think once again, we're measuring the wrong things. We're not measuring root cause of disease and helping individuals overcome disease at the root cause. So if you look at where people lie in the health disease continuum, most people, 70%, are healthy or pretty healthy. And then you go to the other end of the spectrum, and we only have 2% of people that are really, really sick driving costs. But if we look at this from a cost basis, now it brings things into clearer focus. Here's the healthy population. Yeah, we want to do some things with those folks, but the main attention should be in the red group and the orange group, which constitutes 10% of a population and 70% of the costs. But keep in mind that these people generally came from here first, and from here and from here. So a real root cause wellness program provides services to everybody to try to reverse this trend rather than allow it to proliferate. Well, we're not alone in this thinking. Here's Harvard Medical School, Mass Medical Society, New England Journal of Medicine. It says the new model looks like this: a scaled approach to matching resources to intensity of patient need. But the way we need to do that, they also say, is have good predictive analytics. And good predictive analytics is evaluating risks of individuals. It's a very simple thing. So these low-cost people, they just need a self-serve program, something simple to help them understand their very basic risks. Whereas these folks, you don't want a vanilla program. You need a personalized program to their high level of risks and their disease conditions, our true root cause solution. So what is our wellness solution? It's a root cause solution, and I'd like to go over what that's all about over the next few minutes. So it's a very intuitive, simple 1, 2, 3 program. Living profile. Yes, it's an HRA, but it's a smart HRA that rates each risk for how impactful it is on health. We give a person, to help motivate them, a letter grade based on standard grading from A to F. And F, a person has a lot of risks in their life that are contributing to disease. An A is a person that needs very low touch. The next is the chronic disease temperature. It's a biometric panel, and you're familiar with biometric panels, but what we've done is we've reevaluated blood labs and other types of labs to assess where someone is on the health disease continuum, and we provided an amplifier effect to those lab results so we can really ferret out who is heading down a chronic path. Because a lot of people that are in the chronic disease process, the labs look fairly normal. With our chronic disease temperature, they no longer look normal. That's how we can health stratify. And we assign each individual what we call a chronic disease temperature, which is simply an amalgamation of all their labs into a single number. There's the amplifier effect, but it also allows us to gauge where people are and what the effect of our health creation processes are on making that individual healthy. Their chronic disease temperature, AKA their blood labs, should improve. And the last is, we recognize that in that 2%, these people are truly sick and there's something holding them back in terms of getting healthy. We do advanced tests based on our Harvard doctors that helped design this program to really understand those issues. So let's see how our program's working out in the real world. Here we have an example of a simple chart with the living profile grade across the bottom and the chronic disease temperature over here on the y-axis. And what you can clearly see is we go from an F to a better grade. Their chronic disease temperature, which is a chronic disease risk amplifying biometric tool, comes down. So when we talk to participants in our program, it's who has control over your health? Can you move your risks down? Can you eliminate risks? And if you do, your chronic disease temperature, your blood labs will come down and you will be healthier. So let's look at the process. Now this is a complex curve of how our process looks, but it's very simple. We take input data, the HRA, the living profile, vital signs, blood labs. We put that into our protocol builder, which simply evaluates all the risks that we found and spits out actions. And actions are simply very simple steps to eliminate risks. And then we collect the data for every individual and see how it's working, and we go through a continuous process of improvement. But it's a very simple implementation. So this is what the patient experience looks like, the individual participant. We say your car has a health warning dashboard, but people don't. Now through RealHealth, patients have a health creation or a health dashboard to see where they are. This person, well, this person has an F. They have a lot of risks in life. And believe me, a lot of people, based on our metrics, wind up in the F category. They're not healthy. They come in with aches and pains and diabetes. They're an F. Then we measure the chronic disease temperature. We display that. This is on the scale just like you take your child's temperature. 98.6 is perfectly normal. 103.1, that person has a high fever. But in this case, the fever is for chronic disease based on the blood labs we're measuring. How does this person get healthy? That F and all the risks tied to it are translated into action. So this person has an action plan of 21 things to do that will incrementally improve their health. But not all actions are just something that an individual can implement, so we assign some actions beyond the 21 to a health coach. They require a little more medical acumen, and then we assign some to a doctors that really require that level of care. So they can work on their individual actions, they can work with a coach to work on the coaching level actions, and they can work with a doctor. RealHealth supplies all these, or can work with existing coaches and doctors to help them navigate through the action plan. So here's an example of page 2 on their dashboard for an individual. So they see their chronic disease temperature, and now we see some actions that they have, from the good and the bad of salt to the importance of potassium. This person may have Lyme disease. It may be responsible for their aches and pains because they've indicated in the past they've been bitten by a tick, for example. So these actions are assigned to them. So they can go into the action page just by simply clicking. So this is all an online tool. And here's a broader array of their actions. So these actions are assigned, and each action is assigned complementary to a risk. If they correct the action, the risk goes away. So this has been assigned either by the doctor, the living profile, the chronic disease temperature. And you can see this person is working on certain risks. They're in progress. Others are deferred. They don't think they appreciate those, or they want to discuss it with their doctor later. And some actions are completed. It's a very simple, step-by-step process, intuitive process to improve your health. So let's look into the guts of one of these actions. This person answered in their profile that they have something like GERD, acid reflux, pain in their abdomen tied to the food they're eating potentially. So we describe what the acid reflux is all about. Simple description. What the action is. Oops, excuse me. And then cautions. Because some actions are not quite so simple. You need to make sure that you're working with a healthcare provider in some instances, or a coach, to make sure there aren't interactions to what you're doing. So we provide those cautions. And then we curate information, which is the learning engine for an individual to move forward and correct their actions. So we have sources, references, links. Some of these are video. Some of these are simple written documents, but we curate them at beginner, intermediate, advanced, and expert levels. And so, for example, not only is this a roadmap for an individual to improve their health, it's also a roadmap for a coach or even a doctor to become fluent on this risk topic and how to ameliorate that risk. So if you look at what we're trying to achieve, basically, RealHealth will essentially guarantee that if people who fully implement the RealHealth Wellness Program will see a 5% decline in their individual aggregated healthcare costs year over year, as opposed to what Forbes said in 2016, that healthcare costs continue to inflate at 6.5% year over year. So if you look at year 5, 6.5% translates to a 37% increase, whereas a 5% decrease leads to a 27% reduction at year 5. So we're seeing a total savings potential in year 5 of 50% compared to where your healthcare costs could be. Now, does RealHealth implement this wellness program independent of your current care team? We could, but the best way to implement a program to make people well is have everybody singing from the same hymnal and have coordinated care. It's very simple. In health, all parts of our bodies are intimately connected. Our red blood cell goes to our heart every minute. That's a highly connected system. To be effective, delivery of care must be connected too. So whether you're working with specialists, health centers, on-site clinic, the third-party administrator, advisors, the employer, we all have to be singing from the same health hymnal. And it only makes sense because we all have the same goal, except for the hospital maybe, but RHI, our team, the primary care doctor, the patient, nobody wants that event. Nobody wants that debilitating and costly condition. That's the whole concept. So RealHealth Innovations, our wellness program, it's root cause wellness. It's simple. It's identifying the fundamental, most basic risks that contribute to poor health and disease, and creating a simple action plan that's either self-directed or directed by a coach, or a doctor that restores the individual to good health. I'm Dr. Tom Lewis, founder of RealHealth Innovations. Thank you for your time.